Welcome back, folks. Right, Cape Rugby TV. We carry on talking club rugby, and of course, as you know, everybody's very excited about the fact that clubs, some clubs at least, are training, and some clubs have got their friendly fixtures up and running. But of course, we know all of that has to be approved by Western Province Rugby. And for those of you that are new to club rugby, well, let me give you a little bit of education. Over the last few years, Western Province Rugby has annually been running the SCORE Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. In fact, that kind of score that you see with me, we talk about that every year, because at the end of every year there is a 7 series, the SCORE Western Province Club Rugby 7 series, where we see tons of clubs getting involved with the 7 series. And of course, it's that time of year again that we're able to take a look and have this conversation about potentially having sevens. But to get us more information and get it directly from Western Province Rugby, I've got Faizel Felton on the line with me. Faizel, welcome back to Cape Rugby TV. Nice to have you on the line.
Good evening, JP. Good evening, listeners. It's always good to be back. As you said, looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Faizel, I mean, I suppose if one looks back over the years, sevens rugby, not just in club rugby, but sevens rugby has kind of exploded into this entertainment factor. People love sevens rugby. It's fast action. I mean, you guys must be over the moon about the fact that there's going to be sevens, right? Am I right, though? Is there going to be sevens?
Definitely, JP. It's definitely something that we all look forward to. I think, especially from the club side, it's a nice sort of wind down to the season. And I think from this year, in terms of what's been happening, the pandemic and COVID, I think it's a good start in terms of planning and preparation for the following year. I think from a club perspective, it's also good to be out on the field after 2 years of not being able to play. And I think it's also now, the ability, and I think what SCORE provides and the sevens provide is the ability to interact and engage with a number of clubs and that there. So yes, bear in mind, still COVID, still strict protocols in place, but sevens will definitely be happening in November.
So sevens is definitely happening in November, and that is great news for club rugby. But let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, we know in 2020 there was no SCORE sevens, which was very disappointing for everybody. But if we look back at the sevens series that you've created, I mean, we started pretty small. If I remember correctly, the first 7 series was at Goodwood Rugby Football Club. But after that, it really grew. I mean, sevens series has taken off, clubs getting their own jerseys. You've had SCORE and CTC Sports involved in this for a long time. We know COVID is a stress, but are you looking at something similar?
Yes, I think, thanks to our sponsors again, SCORE, for coming on board. And I think, one of the key things is getting the communities alive again, getting club rugby up and running again. And, it's been great to having CTC on board again, and also from SCORE perspective. Obviously, we're working within the confines of the pandemic. We've got about 36 clubs that will be participating. We've got some ladies clubs also that hopefully will also be participating. So 36 clubs, the numbers are still there. The only difference now at the moment is the pandemic in terms of how we manage, in terms of being compliant. The one difference with this year would be, using various venues. We've earmarked a number of facilities in terms of, looking at the stadium, looking at the access point, the entry, the exit points. So that's one of the things that we are looking at. Obviously, bearing in mind COVID again, even though regulation allows spectators, currently at the moment there's a number of requirements that's needed when it comes to spectators. And I think one of the other challenges is that people need to bear in mind is that even though you're allowed to have up to 2,000, there's still requirements in terms of permits and stuff that need to be in place. So I think from Western Province's viewpoint and, in terms of management and COVID compliance, we are going to look at a phased approach in terms of how we do things. So number one is getting the game going on the field, looking at compliance, looking at the venue, looking at the facility, looking at how we manage the day with regards to the teams that will be participating. Player welfare, player safety is first and utmost important, and then gradually and surely, looking at next year in terms of how we integrate and how we bring spectators back onto the field.
Faizel, is it too early to look at the format? over the last few years, you had different pools, which we know is a popular format in Sevens series. When we look at the HSBC Sevens, teams play in a Pool A and a Pool B and so on, and shields and plates and all that. How does the format work, especially for folks who've never watched Sevens rugby before or looked at the competition structure?
Yeah, in the past, JP, we would have all the matches, all the teams, congregating at CPUT at one particular venue. Again, from this year, we're looking at 4 facilities. The pools will be very similar in terms of if you're looking at a facility, you're looking at having plus minus 9 clubs that will be at a facility. Everything will be managed. Everything will still be run from the union side, in terms of COVID and ensuring the compliance. So basically, for the 2 weeks, you would have those 9 teams playing against each other. And the idea is to look at 2 teams from there playing a final at Newlands. So the top 2 teams from each of those regions will basically come to Newlands. And again, it's perfect opportunity. Who knows? Could be the last game at Newlands. Playing at the Conic Stadium, and I think that's one of the draw cards that we are looking at. I think for a lot of the players that get that opportunity, I think that's something nice to remember and a good memory to have is playing the last official tournament game at Newlands for 2021.
So what is it, Faizel, what is it that makes Sevens rugby so exciting? What is it that makes it so interesting for the fans?
I think the mere fact that, again, the playing field is leveled and the opportunity for clubs in the various leagues, everybody's on the same level. Everybody participates against each other. There's no leagues, so you find guys at the bottom that's in the lower leagues have opportunity and have over the years proved themselves, in terms of the strength and the quality of rugby.
Yeah.
So I think one of the key things is obviously the playing fields, but I think also the one thing that we do encourage is the social element. In the past that we had, whereas all our clubs came together and that engagement of administrators and the community. And I think ideally that for us is the most important thing is, what club rugby is about, bringing communities together, bringing our, players, bringing our fans, our administrators and everybody together. So I think from a Sevens perspective, yes, it will be challenging with regards to in the past having those stalls and food stalls. Unfortunately, for this year we're going to have to adapt. But I think the key focus for us is having matches being played and clubs being able to compete, at that level. So that for us is the priority for this. Yeah.
Faizel, I suppose one of the reasons why the fans enjoy watching Sevens rugby so much is the faster action. It's you're able to also when you're watching it on TV, you can see lots of different teams at the same time. You're not going to watch just one match. I mean, there's obviously Sevens rugby has really kicked off in the last 10 years.
No, definitely. I think from a fan perspective, it's the ideal situation. It's a fun day. It's that vibe and hype that Sevens creates. And I think the one thing is that you've got 15 minutes. You're on that field, and you've got to do what you need to do. And it's again the excitement in terms of being able to see a number of teams on the particular day. So for us, I think, and the fans and that day, Sevens gives us that perfect opportunity to be part of the action, on the day.
Faizel, I think we'll leave it at that. I'm sure you guys must be very excited about the fact that there has been an announcement that spectators are allowed back on the side of the field. We know some of the clubs have been training. A handful of the clubs have actually been playing some friendlies. But obviously, I would imagine that from your side, the regulations still remain in place and very strict.
Yeah, no, I think, again, JP, as I said earlier on, Western Province, even though the government regulation has allowed for fans and spectators to come back, I think a lot of the clubs and people out there need to still understand there's a number of boxes that still need to be ticked from a compliance perspective. It's not just going to be sort of a free-for-all. I think, together with the clubs, we've been engaging. We will have meetings with regards to how we phase the approach back. How do we get our spectators back? How do we manage the situation? I think, from rugby side, we want to do our part. We want to make sure we want to get back on the field as soon as possible. But at the same time, player welfare and, spectators and our fans are utmost and, key priority for all of us in that. So for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a bit challenging. But I think, we've got the support of all our clubs and, together, we will make it happen. I think the ultimate goal and focus for us is 2022, when we want full stream rugby back. We want our fans back, because I think that's the survival of club rugby, is our fans and our spectators and our, and our players.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that's where we are working towards, and we want to tick all those boxes now.
Faizel, our line's been a little bit jumpy today, but it's been great chatting with you. It's fantastic to know that you guys are working behind the scenes to keep our clubs connected and keep them active. And we, of course, hope that hopefully we've got some sevens, and, of course, on our side, we'll keep tracking the progress of the clubs. It's been very exciting to see some of the clubs playing some friendly matches, some of the clubs. And, of course, good luck for your YTC under 15s this weekend. I believe the under 15s are playing this weekend.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, again, thank you from Cape Rugby side, again, for covering the events and, keep us going through this pandemic and keep rugby still alive. This week, Saturday, we've got all our, under 15s down out at City Park competing against SVD and Boland. It's a so-called, the lower schools, where we've given the youngsters an opportunity and the platform, for provincial. And it's also an opportunity to earmark and identify talent. So from our side, we're looking forward to it. And I think, that normality and getting back onto the field, I think for us, that is key and that is crucial.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Faizel, thank you very much. We'll leave it at that. There we go, folks. Faizel, Felton, Western Province Rugby. Our line was a little bit jumpy tonight, but nevertheless, always good to find out from Western Province what it is that they're busy with. Waiting for more information on the sevens. Still early days, but it does look like it's going to happen. And, of course, it's been a great show looking at the fact that the referees had their course last week. The under-15s go to their trials this coming weekend. Our DHL Western Province Rugby under-20 side is going into the semi-finals. So, yes. And, of course, the friendlies that are happening and the clubs that are training. So, I think things are looking on the up. Folks, that's a wrap from us then this evening. We'll say to you again, we'll catch you next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.